Hi and welcome back to another video. Today I am not cycling, I'm not going up onto the moor, I'm not going up massive hills. I'm going to talk instead about this. My Garmin Fenix 7S Sapphire. It's pretty much the most expensive thing I've ever bought, so let's jump in. Quick bit of background, I am not a watch wearer, or at least I wasn't before I bought this. I just never ever wore watches in my daily life, never bothered me, never needed any of the time. I had my phone for that. And yet when I started getting into triathlon, I really wanted something that would help me train for that, track that, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm not the biggest adherer to websites, apps, that kind of thing, where you have to like constantly input data. That is not my jam. I will just do it for like 2 weeks and then forget about it, and it's a fact and I hate it. So I wanted a watch that would track all that kind of stuff for me. And I went down a bit of a YouTube hole, a bit of a DC Rainmaker hole. I just thought, well, the Fenix 7 looks quite nice. I wasn't going to buy it because it was insanely expensive, but I did happen to go to a jeweller's, which, yes, made me feel like, I don't know, a dad from the 90s. I went to an actual real jeweller's and went and tried one on. And I literally went and tried on this exact watch. And now I can see why going into a jeweller's is quite dangerous, because you try stuff on and then you're like, oh, it looks really lovely. And then, yeah, that's the end of your bank account. So I tried it on there and I got chatting to the sales advisor, and he was so lovely. And it turned out that he did loads of mountain biking and stuff in the area that I live in. And it was a really nice experience. I didn't buy it. I walked away because it was £780, I think. So instead I thought about it, I did more research, and then a week later I went back and shared that cash. It was insane. The only other things more expensive than that I think I've purchased is a car. No, my car cost less than that. I bought my bike, which was one penny under £1,000, and I bought a laptop, which was also about £1,000 on the button, I think. So this was definitely in one of my top 3 financial outlays of all time, and soon you're going to find out whether I regret that or not. So the exact edition of the Fenix 7 that I got is the Fenix 7S Sapphire. So you can get the Fenix 7, which is the same as this. This is a Fenix 7, but this is a Fenix 7S. And I'm pretty sure that the S just means small. This is just a slightly narrower watch, which is perfect for me because I have disturbingly thin wrists. That's one of the reasons why I've never worn watches before, because they just don't fit on my wrist. They just look really weird. But this one is about the same width as my wrist. It's probably the largest watch I could really get away with wearing at all before it starts overlapping on the sides of my wrist. So the sapphire in this model is the type of glass that is used in the watch face. So you can get Fenix 7s without sapphire glass, but sapphire glass is considerably more scratch resistant. And here was my thought process. So I could have saved maybe £100, £150 if I hadn't have got sapphire glass. But then I thought, as I'm sure they're well aware in their marketing team, if I'm going to outlay so much money on a watch, do I really want to risk it being scratched or cracking the glass or anything like that? And the answer is obviously no. I preferred to stump up the extra £100 plus to get the sapphire version, because this is a sports watch, you know, like, I don't know, like, I'm going to take it into some pretty tough environments sometimes, and so I don't want to risk it getting scratched. You can also get it in a ton of different colours. Like, you can get obviously different watch straps and you can change them. They're all pretty expensive, but like when you initially buy the watch, you can choose which one you want. And also the colour of the metal around the bezel here, you can opt for a different colour of that. I literally bought the one that the guy just happened to have in the shop because I instantly fell in love with the colours when it was on my wrist, even though it's not something I would ordinarily choose, but it just felt right. Okay, so what are the main reasons I actually bought this, aside from the fact that it looked really nice on my wrist, right? So as I said, I was starting to train for triathlon, and it was a new event type that I was getting into, and obviously there are quite a lot of sports involved in that and a lot of training. You can't train by doing a triathlon. You have to be, like, that's the event. You have to be doing all these different sports, strength training, all that kind of stuff. So I really wanted something that would track that training for me and lay it all out in one place that I could see. The Garmin watches also have a companion phone app, which is Garmin Connect, and that will show all of the details, all of the data that's on your watch on your phone as well, so it's really easy to access there. Another very honest reason why I bought it was I just thought it would give me a better incentive to keep training. Training for triathlon is really, really difficult. It takes a lot of time, even if you're doing the shortest, fastest kind of distances like super sprint and sprint. It still takes up a lot of your time and effort because those are 3 separate sports. You need to really dedicate yourself to doing all of them. I was also going to be training throughout winter, so I needed something to incentivize me, and I know myself, if I have outlaid almost £800 on a watch, I'm going to use that watch a lot. So I'm sure maybe it's better in an ideal world to have perfectly internal motivations, but that's not the reality. So in part I bought it because I figured that having this watch like on my back all the time, which I'll get to in a minute, would help me train. It also made me feel good. Like, this is something that we all know but we never talk about. Buying a very high-end sport watch made me feel more athletic, and therefore I behaved in a way that a more athletic person does and spent way more of my time than I would have ordinarily on training and doing athletic things, eating better, hydrating better, all of those kinds of things attached to it. It's amazing how your behaviour changes when you start thinking of yourself in a different way, and this watch helped me think of myself as more of an athlete than I had before. So let's talk about the top headline features of this watch that I use, and these are the top features for me. So these are in no particular order, but they're all pretty much equal. So battery life was a huge thing for me. I know plenty of people who have Samsung and Apple watches and they're charging them every day, every 2 days. I cannot be doing with that. I can charge my phone every day, and that is the limit of what I'm charging on a daily basis. I have better things to do than be remembering to plug stuff in every second. Also, a lot of the benefits from having a watch like this is that they track your stats 24 hours a day. So if I have to take it off every single night to charge it, then it's not tracking any of my heart rate, anything like that overnight, which is, kind of a problem. The battery life for this is about 11 days. 11 days, right? If I'm not using it for anything other than just it being, if I'm not recording activities or using GPS, stuff like that, it's going to last for about 11 days. If I'm recording a few activities a week, it's still going to last 6-7 days. Easily. The only time when its battery really starts going down is if I'm recording significantly longer days than usual. So if I'm cycle touring, or if I'm, I just did the Dartmoor Way last weekend, if I'm doing something like that where I'm recording for potentially 8 hours a day, then that's going to eat into the battery life, and that might reduce its battery life to 2 or 3 days if I'm recording GPS for that long. But in my day-to-day life, I probably charge it literally once every maybe 8-9 days, because most of my activities are a 3-hour bike ride here, a 1-hour run there, and maybe I'm doing 3 or 4 of those activities a week, so it doesn't add into the battery life much at all. Another top headline for me is that it's waterproof. It is waterproof to, I'll put it on the screen because I actually can't remember, but I think it's at least 10 meters, and I can free dive down to 17 meters, but I don't do that on a daily basis. So having it waterproof to 10 meters suits me absolutely fine. I'm not swimming that often at the moment, but I love the fact that I can just jump into a pool and go swimming and not have to take it off. I don't have to take it off to shower, although I often do if I'm showering after exercise, because otherwise you get loads of sweat underneath. I don't have to worry about it getting wet. And again, I don't want to be thinking about taking something off in case it gets wet. That's too much effort. Okay, so I want it to be waterproof, and it is very waterproof. One of the biggest things that I use it for is tracking my heart rate, because this is such a great indicator of your fitness trend. So when I first got this watch, my resting heart rate was about 61, and that was at the very beginning of my training for triathlon. So my resting heart rate is now 51, 52, depending on the day, depending on the week. And I've watched that trend go up and down over the last few years. And it's been so beneficial for that, because it's one of the clearest ways that I can see how my fitness and general health is progressing. From the research that I've done with people comparing this to lab heart rate monitors, this seems pretty accurate, so I'm perfectly happy to trust it. But even if it isn't as accurate as a lab monitor, it's probably pretty accurate against itself. So as long as I'm only comparing today's heart rate to last month's heart rate on this same device, then I'm going to at least see the same relative difference. And I'm not tracking heart rate between two separate devices, which may not be, you know, in sync or calibrated together. Another headline feature of this that I really love is your fitness trend. So it's called training status. Now I'll get to this later because it's actually kind of a downside, but in general the training status will show you whether you're trending upwards or you're trending downwards in your fitness in general, and every day and every activity adds into that and feeds more data into that, so your watch can tell you how that fitness is progressing. And finally, the other top headline feature that I really like is its integrations. So you can download other apps onto this watch and integrate with other like sport apps that you use. So I, for instance, have Komoot downloaded onto this watch. Caveat, I work for Komoot, so, you know, just bear that in mind. But you can have loads of stuff downloaded onto it and you can sync it with loads of other things and loads of other apps. Whatever you're using to track your, you know, activities, your fitness, all that, you can probably sync it with your Garmin watch. So it will push your activity recorded on this watch to that app. So the other things that I do like, but don't really, like I wouldn't buy it for these items, are sleep. It tracks your sleep status and, you know, how well you slept, all of that kind of thing. I find sleep stats interesting. Like, I don't really look at them because I prefer just to go on how I feel in the morning, but it's there, and I know some people really, really like sleep stats. So it has all of that. It has weather. It will tell you what the weather's doing that day, and it will tell you sunrise, sunset, things like that as well. It also has music, so you can Bluetooth music to your Bluetooth headphones from your watch. I don't use it for that at all. If I want to listen to music when I'm out, I will just use my phone to Bluetooth to my speakers. Haven't set it up on the watch. I've just never wanted to, but you can do it. You also Bluetooth it with your phone, so you can have email, text, XYZ notifications if you want to. I use this in a very, very limited way. I allow it, I've set it up so WhatsApp can only push WhatsApp notifications to my watch if I'm doing an exercise, and that's usually because I can't access my phone. If I'm running, for instance, my phone is tucked in the back pocket of my running shorts, that, you know, it's very hard to get it in and out of there. I don't take my phone with me because I use it when I'm running. I take it with me in case I need it when I'm running. But if someone does want to get in touch with me while I'm out running, then I can see the WhatsApp notification on my watch. If the watch isn't recording an activity, it will not push WhatsApp notifications to it, because I don't want my life buzzing on my watch every 5 seconds. Like, that would drive me insane. At least I can silence my phone. I also don't have emails and things like that pushed to my watch. I've set it up so my watch will ping me with Slack messages if my work profile on my Android phone is on. At weekends and evenings, I turn that profile off my phone, which means I wouldn't get any Slack messages to my watch. And I just have those coming to my watch during the day on working days, because if I'm out to lunch or something and someone urgently needs to get hold of me, I don't have to get my phone out of my pocket and look. I can look at my watch, read the message, or at least read the beginning of it to see if it's worth getting my phone out and actually interrupting my lunch. But aside from that, I don't get notifications to my watch because I hate that. I don't think that people should be having messages and work and emails and text and all that kind of stuff push their watch. That's not good for you. And the final thing that a lot of people I know really like is steps. So this has a step counter, but I never look at it. I don't like it. I don't need it. I would turn it off if I could. I think step counting is completely pointless for active people. I can see why it really helps people who live much more sedentary lives, because it encourages you to move your body. But if you're going out for an 8-hour bike ride and you get home, then your step count is still going to be like 300 or something, and your watch is going to be like, oh, you didn't do your steps today. And I'm like, hey dude, I've just cycled 1,000 miles, so get off my back. But I know lots of people like steps, and that's a nice way to track something and blah, blah, blah. So it has a step counter, and that is present on the watch face itself as well. So those are the headline features. It has a ton more features on it, which you can go find out. I'll link the DC Rainmaker review below as well, because that is king. But those are the ones that I mainly use and like in general. So how do I use this watch? Over the 2-3 years that I've owned this watch, this is exactly how I use it every day. Anything I'm doing, if I am running, cycling, or swimming, or doing yoga, or doing strength training, or on the rowing machine in the gym, anything like that, I will go to the activity on my watch and I will record that activity. It has a list of activities that you can record, and you can also add other ones from Garmin's massive list. So I don't have activities on here like, I can't think of one, but let's say lacrosse. I don't actually know if they support that, but I don't play lacrosse, so I don't have it here. Tennis, I'm sure they have tennis. I don't have that on my watch. I could add it just by going through the menu. but I don't have it as an option because I don't play tennis, although I would love to. Too many hobbies. So I use it for tracking those kinds of activities. I don't use it to record any walking because I walk everywhere all the time and that would kind of be pointless. Like, I'm not going for a hike, I'm just walking. So I don't use it for tracking that, but aside from that, I do use it for everything else. This watch also has Garmin maps on it and they are fantastic. They are so good. So if I'm running, then I will use it to navigate. I will either use Garmin maps or Komoot maps, depending on if I'm using Komoot to guide my run or not. Both are great, so you can just choose which one you want to use if you use the Komoot app at all. But if you don't, then Garmin maps are wicked and they will navigate you perfectly. It's so easy to see whether it's a road, footpath, bridle way, XYZ on your watch, and it's got a little arrow to show you where to go. When I finish doing any activity, then I will save it. It will push that activity straight to my Garmin Connect app on my phone. It will also upload it to the other apps that I use to track my fitness. As I said, I use it for Slack notifications if I'm away from my laptop and it's a working day and I'm in the working hours. Then I will have Slack notifications on here as well. And I mainly use it to track my fitness trends and my heart rate variability over time. And for me, that is the most useful thing because it allows me to see how I'm progressing or if I'm maybe feeling under the weather, things like that. Sometimes I might wake up and I'm just like, am I tired or am I getting ill? And looking at various stats can help me work out whether I should be resting or whether I just haven't slept very well and should probably just go out for a run. So why do I love this watch so much? I don't know if you've worked out yet, but I really love this watch. I never have to take it off except to charge, and I charge it really infrequently. I love that. I love that it's waterproof. I love that it just fits into my life. It is just perfect. Also looks really nice, so if I was going to say if I'm going out, like dressing up, but that literally never ever happens. But theoretically, if it did, I wouldn't take it off unless I was maybe at a wedding or something. In fact, I was at a wedding the other day and I still wore it. So there you go. I love it. I never take it off. It has Garmin and Komoot maps. Maps are so useful. You don't get lost. I used to navigate using this watch when I was riding as well. And I still would sometimes, but mainly I use my phone because obviously I can look at it, I don't have to turn my wrist, but I do use it to track my rides regardless. The GPS is so accurate. It will tell you what side of a road that you are on. It will, if you zoom in to the map, like when it's, theoretically on your watch, but if you zoom into the map when you've recorded it and you can see it on your phone or your computer or something, you can literally see that you were on this side of the road or that side of the road or whatever. It's so accurate, and that is very helpful if you're hiking or running or, riding, I suppose, and you have lots of paths to choose from and you're not quite sure which one to choose. When you look at the navigation on your watch, you can see very accurately exactly where you are and which path that you need to take. It also finds GPS within seconds. I step out of the door and it's found GPS just like that. There's no waiting around on your doorstep being like, oh, GPS. You don't have to wait. Like it will find it very quickly. It can track lots of sports. So anything I'm doing, as I've said, yoga, running, cycling, mountain biking, trail running, it distinguishes between them. Outdoor swimming, so open water, or indoor swimming, it will track those things too. And there's just so many. Rowing machine, indoor bike, it will pick up the Bluetooth signal from my Wahoo Kicker and it will record the power that I'm outputting, which is never very much. It will record that on my watch as well, so that is really brilliant. It's very easy to use, and maybe that's just because I've got used to it over the years, but I didn't struggle with it that much when I started, and it was the first Garmin product that I'd ever used. I know that some people with Apple Watches struggle to move to a Garmin interface because they're just so completely different operating systems, but as with anything, you just use it and then you get used to it. It's not complicated, it's actually really clear to use. It's sport fast. I do not need a watch that I can use to pay for stuff. Maybe this can do that. I actually have never looked into it. I don't need a watch that I can read or reply emails to, although as I said, like this will show you emails if you want it to. I don't need a watch that I can make calls on. I don't even know how that would work with Apple Watches. I don't need a watch that can do all the other life stuff. I don't want that. I want it for sport. I want to keep those things separate. I don't want my life buzzing around on my wrist. I want this for sport and I want it for the time. And that's it. So because it's Garmin, it is very sport first, and the way you use it and the things that are available on it are very indicative of that. Also, it's just pretty. I just like it. You can get it in loads of different colours. You can have it in black and grey and whatever. And I've got a kind of, I don't know what it's called, maybe like rose gold almost. And I'm really not a rose gold kind of person, but I think it looks really nice. And I feel like that's important. And lastly, there's very little unnecessary stuff to this. There's very little that I don't use on it, and if I don't use it, then it doesn't interrupt the flow, it doesn't interrupt my usage of it, it doesn't get in my way. There's just not loads of extra bits, you know? So, downsides of the Garmin Fenix 7S Sapphire Solar. I also should mention that I have the solar version. It has a solar panel around the very outside of the screen there. I don't know how much charge it gets from that. I also live in Great Britain, so... But theoretically, you can boost its charge by leaving it in the sun or just wearing it in the sunshine. So the downsides of it. The main downside is obviously cost. It costs a lot of money. They have just this week, I think, last week, released the Garmin Fenix 8 watch, which I guess will probably lower the price of this. I haven't looked into the Garmin Fenix 8 at all. I'm not the kind of person who gets technology and then buys the next version of it. I couldn't care less. I will have this until it breaks, I lose it, I don't know, it gets whatever. So I haven't looked into the Garmin Fenix 8 because why would I? But I'm assuming its launch might push down the price of this, making this slightly more affordable for more people. So it does cost a lot of money. I don't know what it's retailing at for today, but as I said, I bought this edition, Fenix 7S Sapphire Solar, for £780. Another downside is the mental stress I get from the training status. So every day I wake up and I don't always look at it, but it'll catch my eye at some point and it will say a variety of things above the time. So it will say, it currently says maintaining. For the last few days it said productive, which is the golden thing. It means that your fitness is increasing. It'll also say stuff like overreaching, peak, recovery, detraining, I don't know. How I interpret it, unless it's maintaining or productive, I interpret it as, you're not doing enough, don't be so lazy, which does not help me. Sometimes I have gone onto the Garmin Connect app and I've actually paused the training status if I'm injured or if I'm not doing as much as I would normally, because otherwise it feels like this horrible devil on your shoulder that's like, do exercise, do exercise, do exercise. And sometimes that's beneficial and sometimes it's really not. So the training status to me is a bit of a con sometimes, but I do actually really like it other times, and you can pause it. So Garmin have given you a lot of options about how you can interact with that. Another downside is that the charger is proprietary, so you need the Garmin charger to plug into this. It's a tiny thing, but in a world where we charge stuff all the time, it's kind of annoying that it's not just USB-C. I mean, everything should just be USB-C, am I right? And that's all the cons I can think of. Genuinely, that is all of them. So in conclusion, would I buy this watch again if I didn't have it and I knew all of this stuff, I'd had all this experience? Yes, I absolutely would. I would lay down £780 tomorrow if I needed to buy this watch. I love it so much. It's genuinely one of the best purchases I've ever made in my entire life. It has changed the way I train. It's changed the way I feel about my body and my strength and my fitness. It has helped me track things and not lose track of weeks, like not let loads of days go past without doing any movement at all. Even when I'm tired, just having it prompts me to just do some yoga and to just really get back into my body and move and make myself feel better. I think it is a brilliant watch. It doesn't stress me out with the battery life. I don't forget about it because it's always on charge and I have to like leave it in. It just fits so perfectly into my life and it supports all the exercise and fitness and trips I want to do. I record all my bikepacking trips on it as well, so even if I'm cycle touring in France for a week, I am recording it every day and I'm charging it every 2 days. So if you have the kind of money that this requires you to outlay and you have that spare, you can afford this, I would highly, highly, highly recommend it. I think it's a fantastic watch. I hope you found this video useful. It's one I've been meaning to make for a long time because I honestly really love this. It's just the same as my Ribble. Like, I just love these two items, make me so happy. But I'd love to hear from you, like what sports watches do you use? What do you recommend? Like, help each other out. It's always really useful for other people to hear what we all use because then you can make better buying decisions in the future. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next one. Bye.